Okay, this is a video which is aimed at the SRC and also network services in relation to uh, the right way, at least in my opinion, to go about mapping schools into Hivemanager. And it's prompted by the fact that I found some mapping done for Boca High School, which I really don't think is quite up to snuff. So I think it's important to try and spell out how I think things should be done based upon having done it a few times and realized my mistakes. So the uh, the major points are that a school should be broken out by building and by floor. And what we should not attempt to do is to put the whole of the school onto a single map. Um, what you're looking at here is an example of a school that hasn't actually been properly mapped yet, but we're showing the whole of the first floor of the campus on a single screen. And if we dropped all the access points onto this, first of all, there'd be a lack of detail, but also when you try to use tools such as the interference analysis or the signal strength analysis, and you've drawn in all the walls, the more access points, the more walls, the more buildings you have, the bigger the calculation, and therefore the bigger the delay, and perhaps there's the possibility of just completely overwhelming the algorithms that try to do this for you. So the philosophy is to try to break down as much as possible. So if we take a concrete example, let's look at Forest Hill High School, which has been quite well broken down. So if we click on that, first thing is you'll see that we've got buildings 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. For some reason we haven't done building 3. Now, in actual fact, I believe that this was probably the first one we mapped, and where it says building 1, building 2, these have to be unique within Hivemanager. So when I next went to another school and tried to say call a building 1, it would say, oh, that exists. So you have to put some kind of short version of the school name. So for example, here we have Atlantic High School dash building 3, Atlantic High School dash building 4. So this tends to be how you have to break it out. Now you'll notice that on occasion we will combine buildings if it happens to be two very small buildings, or effectively the two buildings aren't really two buildings, they've just been named as two buildings, but they're quite tightly integrated. Therefore there will be potential for access point interference across the two supposed buildings, that you will just combine them. So you have to use a certain level of judgment. So if we look at building 3 here, then Atlantic High School is, this is a completely separate building off the end, but if we look at building 4, the main classroom building of Atlantic High School is essentially buildings 4, 5, and 6, which are running off of a sort of central corridor. And once you've got within a building, then you name the floors, and you can repeat the names of the floors first, second, third. They don't have to be unique. So this part, the building name has to be unique, because Hivemanager, the floor elements don't need to be unique. Okay, so when you are going to map a location, what you need to do is you need to take a look at the maps, the PDF map or the Visio map for the location, decide how you're going to break it out into individual buildings or groups of buildings, and therefore create the building level icons, and then create the floor level icons below them. To just show you an example of one that hasn't been done right is Boca Raton High School here. What's happened is they've got this Boca High School here, and they've just done the floors of separate buildings under Boca High School. Then arbitrarily for buildings 3, they've actually created a building icon and then put some floors under it. And then we've got building 5 second, and then building 5 second floor. So this is just a mess. And not only is it kind of an illogical mess here, if we actually go over to looking at Boca High School, we look at the topology map field here on the right. What you'll see is that everything is shown as Boca Raton High School, and nothing is shown with respect to the building it's in or the floor that it's on. And where that's going to give you a problem is if you were to go over to dashboard, and let's say you wanted to look at your dashboard for high schools, and we're going to go to Boca Raton High School, and the problem is it seems to be that we haven't actually associated the access points with the physical location they're on. So I believe if I click on this, when this updates, there aren't any access points which are known to be associated with this, so you can't drill down onto specific floors or specific buildings, as opposed to Atlantic, where we might decide that we want to look at the whole of building 4. Or we say we want to look at a specific floor on building 4.
So start going down. I can just spacebar a minute.
So that is the major issue with not doing this in a structured way. So we have to have a hierarchy where we break it out into buildings or building groups, and then within building groups, the individual floors in that building. So even if it's a single-story building, you're still going to have building 1, and then you're going to have building 1 first floor. That can seem a little bit excessive for single-story buildings, but it just puts in an overall level of consistency in the hierarchy, which I think is beneficial. I'm actually going to do another video where I actually work through a specific case, and I'll send that to you when it's done. Okay, thanks guys, bye-bye.